Alright guys, this video is going to be about pots that are too big for your root balls, and I'm making this video because I am guilty for it. I went with what I thought was just a little bit bigger than what the roots need, and this little spider plant is experiencing root rot. It's had yellowing of leaves, dropping and being droopy, and it's getting crisp ends on it, which means it's not draining out fast enough. It's not necessarily that I'm overwatering it. It's not draining out as fast, if that makes sense. So yeah, it kind of is a overwatering thing, but it's not necessarily my fault because I'm watering it on schedule. And so I found root rot on this, and I can post pictures of root rot somewhere down here because I forgot to show you. But basically the roots and rhizomes get black, mushy, and I cut them off, and I mixed hydrogen peroxide and water, mix in a shallow dish, and dunk the roots in there to kind of kill all the fungus. I'm going to be spritzing some neem oil on top of the soil here to kind of soak down into the roots too, just to be sure. But it's a sad looking plant right now, but luckily spider plants are pretty hardy, so hopefully it'll bounce back. I definitely went from a size 5 pot to this little container. I ran out of small terracotta pots, and I don't have anything smaller than this. I know it's a wide pot, but it's short, and the roots bundle up nicely in there. Houseplants, what I've learned, like to be a little bit root bound. They don't want to have room to grow down like tomato plants do, and you know, things like that. They like the comfort of being all snuggly. Obviously they could get too root bound and start growing out the drainage holes and stuff, in which you want to increase your pot another ½ inch to an inch. And some plants have shallower root structures, which means you'll want a shallow, wider pot, kind of like this. But yeah, lesson learned. I also had some overwatering on my Belize rubber tree plant there. I had it in a 6-inch porcelain pot, and I found, I think it was more like 6½ inches. So I found this 6-inch terracotta. Excuse me. And terracotta is also going to help too versus porcelain because it's porous, and it's going to help aeration to dry that soil out faster. So even if you don't have the smallest porcelain, ceramic, resin, or plastic pot possible, you'll probably be able to get away with going with terracotta if you had to go with a larger size. Also, another little trick I'm doing is these hydroponic leca balls. I've been sticking them into my soil mix lately, but even putting this at the base just so it fills it up a little bit, and then it can run through there. They're pretty cheap on Amazon, but I'm running out of cocoa bark, and it's got synthetic fertilizer in it, so I'm trying to like back off on the not cocoa bark, orchid bark. Cocoa bark would be probably a great option too, for a chunky husky mix. But yeah, so I've repotted my Belize. It's dropped a few leaves, and that happens, but I'm trying to get these things taken care of. Both these, my philodendron and Monstera standleyana, they were still not happy. You see the blackening on the new growth there, and the yellowing of the leaf on the philodendron. Yeah, so I stuck it in a 2-inch terracotta. This is why I'm running out of small terracotta, and I've got to order more. I got some 3-inch, and I got my 4-inch in, which I finally repotted my aloe and stuck it down here. I'm thinking it's a combination between having this aloe in the bathroom, which is getting those high humidity bursts, and cacti and succulents don't really deal well with that. I am learning, but see, I still have a nice aloe plant, and I went from a 3 to 3½ inch pot, which the roots were growing out of the bottom, to this 4-inch terracotta. I am trying to keep them roots snuggly. This Ginny peperomia Jimmy, it's lost a couple leaves. And why? Because I had it in too big of a pot. It wasn't losing water enough. So there you go. This Hoya up here, it's got a very chunky mix, and there's a little bit of yellowing of the leaves, and obviously you see that it still wasn't happy. So we can investigate this. Maybe there's some root rot for me to show you. There probably is. No, I don't see any root rot, but I'm going to go ahead and dump the soil out in the compost just in case. I'm still learning Hoya. Hoya is, I got some other ones later on that are doing great for me. Like this one in a 2-inch terracotta pot. It's putting out new growth. Why? Because I am treating the roots good. These houseplants are kind of finicky. They don't want overwatered. Some of them don't want underwatered. Definitely it's better to underwater than overwater, because then you got problems like this and this and this. So my suggestion would be go for the smaller pot. If the roots aren't sticking out the bottom, perfect. If you have to go with a larger size pot, go with terracotta and put something chunky on the bottom to allow that excess water to flow out. Or even do that with your ceramic or porcelain pots and plastic pots if it's just a little bit too big, because these plants are finicky. Now we'll come look at my prayer plants. You see, I have lost a couple plants in here. My black peppercorn plant is not doing well. It was not my fault though. I never watered it. I wrote contacted the seller at Amazon and told them about it. They're either refunding me or sending me a new plant. I'm not sure yet. But these plants were not draining out quick enough. What I'm finding out is Calathea is not as much of a diva as people make it out to be. They want to dry out some. They want to dry out till about here and then water them. They're not super picky about that. High humidity, yes, but they do not need to stay wet all the time. It doesn't do good for them. So I stuck them, they had like that much space where no roots were growing at the bottom of their pots in those 6-inch pots. So I switched them down to 5-inch pots. So hopefully that'll help perk them up. I would like to get a couple more Calathea for this room, or high humidity plants, maybe like a nerve plant or something, just to keep the humidity higher, because they'll transpire against each other when, you know, with their humidity, especially being that there's a heater right there. But that's my houseplant lesson about pots too big, even if you think like I did that they're the right size. I was wrong. I was dead wrong. So I love you, and so does Jesus. See you next time. God bless.